being recorded. Yay. We're doing things. Okay. So welcome everybody. My apologies again for the delay. Yes, I will be sharing the slides with everybody. I will be sending these out campus wide. So first of all, the reason why we are gathered here today, we have a lot of changes in the PAR process this year. And this is due to changes that occurred in the latest RFA. So RFA Article 17, if you are having trouble falling asleep, I would recommend everybody go to Article 17 for the 24-25 RFA and check it out. But I'm going to kind of give you sort of a rundown of some of the most important significant changes that are going to affect all faculty, all probationary faculty, and the people who serve them, because they have to guide them and help them. Like I said, this is affecting everybody. We did have some discussions, you know, like what about year fives? Maybe we should cut year fives to break and, you know, let them off a little easy and go back to what we were doing with them. And the overwhelming response to that was no, everybody changes. So if you are year five, too bad, but it's going to be okay. And in fact, it might even be better, because when you see some of the options that you have, it could work out. So just be patient. This is very much still a work in progress. The PAR facilitator, so it's who's doing this and why. As you know, every campus has a me. Every campus has a PAR facilitator. So there are 10 of us, and this group of 10 met all summer long, every week, sometimes more than once a week, to address these changes that are happening and how we are dealing with them. And it is still very much a work in progress. Some of the things that I'm going to be telling you about today are still kind of being vetted. They're still being worked through. But by mid-October, everything should, the dust will settle and everybody will know what's going on. But more information will be coming in the next couple of weeks. Once school starts, there will be a rollout from the district side with some more information, which I'll talk about. So the important thing here is to not freak out. I was the one who freaked out. I totally freaked out over the summer. Just as we, you know, working with my fellow PAR facilitators and trying to deal with how we were, you know, how are we going to do all of this, and we still have a lot to do. I actually had to go out and buy those pimple patches because I was getting zits, and I haven't had zits since I was like 18. So and that was a really long time ago. So yeah, I stressed out for all of you, and I saw all 26 faces of my probies and traded like, oh my gosh, how am I going to like hold their hand through this process? So I freaked out for you so that you don't have to. All right. So with that, also another disclosure, because this is all still a work in progress, you may have some questions. I might not know the answers to those questions yet. So if I don't know the answer, I will tell you, I don't know. Great question. I'll get back to you. Because like I said, things are moving and there's a lot we don't know. So the first big change that I need to tell you about. In the past, each college had their own rubric, okay? And each college the PARC would create the rubric, submit it to the PAR facilitators. The PAR facilitators would review all of the rubrics and make sure that they were following the letter of the RFA. We'd send them back if they needed to be revised. And then once they were approved by the PAR facilitators group, then each campus would disseminate their rubrics. Well, that was fine and great until we realized that there was a lot of disparity that was happening with regards to 10 different rubrics. And some rubrics were super, super, super specific, and some rubrics were like a page of bullets. And that led to a lot of discrepancies and a lot of inequities as well in terms of how faculty were reviewed. And what might have been a renew at one campus would have been a renew with development at another campus. So the RFA now has language that says that instead of the PARC creating the rubrics, that each PAR facilitator at each campus would write the rubric in consultation with the VPAA and the Faculty Senate President. So all the PAR facilitators, my 9 colleagues and I, we decided 10 heads are better than one. So rather than each of us kind of working in isolation, let's collaborate and let's create one rubric to rule them all, a single rubric that each college would use either as is or with some very minor modifications, keeping in mind that what we put in this rubric is very much tied to the language in the RFA. And it was a struggle to make meaning of it because there are some rather vague things in the RFA still. Because again, the RFA itself is a work in progress because that's what keeps getting updated. So we, all summer, we met once a week, sometimes twice a week, sometimes more often than that, to hash out a single rubric that would kind of, one rubric to rule them all, if you will, that would ensure this consistency and equity across all the colleges and eliminate some of those disparities. And this would also allow us to create robust training for all parts of the PARC process. That means for mentors and for PARC members. So that way, again, we're all on the same page when it comes to reviewing our probationary faculty and to supporting them. And those materials are, like I said, those are being worked on as we speak. We are hard at work for you to create these training materials. Right now, this single rubric of rubrics, one rubric to rule them all, is currently under review by the VPAA Council and the FEC. We presented to FEC this week, and some issues came up, which we're kind of working through. But the good news is that just like other years, we expect to have this rubric disseminated, approved and finalized and disseminated to all people, to all Maricopa faculty, probationary and mentors and PARC members by mid-October in consistency with the current deadlines that are in the RFA. So by mid-October, you will receive the actual one rubric to rule them all. Not to scare anybody, but the rubric currently weighs in at 40 pages. It's hefty. But keep in mind that if you go to Article 17 of the RFA, one of the things that you're going to see there is that there are now different evaluation components for each year. So we essentially have to have a separate rubric for every year in the process. That's why it's so big. So yeah, 40 pages sounds like a lot, but really it's like 5 pages per year. Okay, so keep that in mind. This new rubric has the same essential components, but it's organized a little bit differently. There's some terminology changes that I'm going to go through, and it is going to require some reorganization of your IDP in order to make it more consistent with the rubric, but I'll get to that. Like I said, each year is going to have its own rubric. And this is where, if you're a year 4 or a year 5, or if you're mentoring somebody who's in year 4 or year 5, this is something, it's kind of a big change that may work out for a lot of folks. So now, for years 4 and year 5, they have the option to be evaluated outside of their classroom in either their service capacity or their professional development capacity. And this is to account for a lot of faculty as they kind of move up the food chain, they get more experience, they get further along in the process. They're mostly in leadership. They're starting to get into leadership positions, and they might not necessarily be in the classroom. And so if you have to do an instructional evaluation of somebody who is not necessarily in the classroom, that poses kind of a challenge. And this is something that we've grappled with here in Australia in the past. So now, if you're in years 4 and year 5, you can actually opt to say, you know what, I would like to be evaluated in my service capacity. So come and observe me, evaluate me in how I'm operating in that role as opposed to in the classroom. So for year 4, your chair or your peer mentor can observe you in one of these other capacities. And year 5, you can actually have either your dean or the VPAA, in addition to the others, evaluate you in either service or professional development. So this may work out really well for some of our year 4 and year 5 folks. So do keep that in mind. And the IDP is going to have kind of some parameters for how to report those evaluations. Okay. Any questions so far? Are all good? Everybody good? Y'all with me? Nobody's freaking out yet. Okay, good. Because there's more. One of the other big changes about this new rubric is that we now have some very specific requirements with regards to that critical reflection piece. We have spelled out some things. It's not terribly different from how we've operated here at Estrella, but again, we've got some terminology changes, and I'll get to that. It will help if you organize things accordingly. So we'll talk about that in just a second. Right. Any questions about the rubric? All good? Yes.
Are there new forms for the mentors, or is that?
The mentor form is still going to be pretty much the same. I think we here at Estrella, I think right now, we are the only campus that has like a mentor form. I shared it with my colleagues and they were like, hey, this is really cool. I think we can use this too. We probably will update it. Yes. Yeah. And it'll probably be updated for this year because I think there was some park members last year had said that. I think it updated, so it won't be too terribly different from what you do.
Wait out an observation.
Yeah, unless you could do an observation. So the question was like, should we put off, if you're a mentor, should you put off doing your observation? I would say no. And you can still, even without, it's still gonna have that same, communicate what your goals are so that you're going in with some sort of specific thing to look for and to give feedback on. And those are things that you can still kind of write up. So yeah, I wouldn't hesitate on, don't wait. Other questions? Good question. All right, moving on. So because we have this new rubric, this is going to require some reorganization of the IDP. Okay. This is where I also kind of freaked out a little bit, like, oh my God, I've got to have some faculty that are going to really freak out with this. Especially if you're not too keen on using Google Sites, because the mechanics of Google Sites can be a little tricky sometimes, but it's okay because I'm going to help. But anyway, in the past, when you put together your IDP, you had a separate page for everything, right? You had your year overview, you had a page that covered your professional development with a reflection there, you had your service page with your reflection there, you had your VPA or Dean evaluation and your reflection for that, yada, yada, yada. We're not doing that anymore. So now your IDP is going to be organized like this. You'll still have your yearly overview page, but now we're consolidating things. And I'll go more into specifics with that. So we'll have core functional area. There'll be a page for core functional area. There'll be a page for faculty professional service, and there'll be a page for professional development. And each of those pages will have its own reflection. This is terminology changes that are in the RFA. So again, we're trying to be consistent in how we label things. So that way it's very clear to those reviewing and to those who are, that we're covering all bases and that they're being thorough. Okay. So faculty professional service and professional development, those are pretty much the same. It's the core functional area that's kind of going to be a bit of a bear, because now rather than having these as separate pages with separate reflections, you now must consolidate all of these into one page with one reflection that encompasses all of that. Okay. I have some recommendations for this. I'll tell you about that a little bit later, because part of the work that we did this summer, the PAR facilitators were like, yes, it's one thing to have us create a new rubric, but if we haven't gone through the experience ourselves with this new setup, with this new format, how can we effectively work with those people, with those faculty who need to reorganize things? So we wrote up, all of us took responsibility for writing up sample reflections, which you will eventually get access to, but we wrote up sample reflections and put together some mock IDPs to kind of go through the process ourselves to make sure that this was actually doable. And this part here, this core functional area page, was a challenge. So I'll share some of my recommendations based on my experience of doing that a little bit later. So anyway, again, what was once 4 pages is now 1 page with everything all encompassed in one reflection. And this is essentially your instruction. all of your instructional stuff. Like I said, the professional service and your professional growth page, those are kind of the same thing, although you'll notice here at Estrella in the past, we've had these kind of codified, like you had to have, you'd list everything, and I think last year you'd list all of your activities, and then you'd pick 3 that you do a deep dive with a, thorough reflection on that. We talked about this a lot, our facilitators. Do we want to quantify or not? And there was a lot of mixed opinions on this, but ultimately we decided to not quantify this at all. So it's really more about quality versus quantity and the thoroughness of that reflection for those activities. Although there is kind of an assumption, which you'll see verbiage to that in a moment, that as one moves up the chain in the PAR process, like once you're further along, years 4 and 5, they expect to see more. The assumption is that you're doing more service, you're doing more professional, as opposed to somebody who's in their first year. And again, professional development, same thing. They do want some specifics, like list everything and be very specific with regards to like dates, times, modalities, providing documentation, like you have links to agendas, links to websites, videos, things like that, as evidence whenever applicable, whenever it is possible to do that. And again, one reflection that just kind of encompasses all of that. And we'll talk about reflection soon. Right now. So we will be changing things up just a little bit. It's not too different from how we've done it. How we've done it at Estrella, we had our operationalized definition of reflection, which was like, what happened? What did you learn? How are we going to use this learning? It's still basically that, but again, trying to be consistent with the RFA. We've changed some terminology a little bit. So now what I'm going to recommend to all of our probies and mentors who are tuned in, I would hope that you would also help convey this to your mentees when they start writing things up, to please use these subheadings when composing your reflections. This is to ensure that, again, it's obvious to the reviewer, because these are the terms that are used in the rubric. So, and it's also good for the probates who are writing this up, because it'll ensure that you're being thorough and you're covering all your bases. So we've got the synopsis of feedback or experience. That's the what happened. The description of learning and growth. That's what did you learn, and the application and plan. How are you going to use this? Okay, and I'll kind of go through this one by one here in a second. It was also very important, because it does mention this in the RFA, to address both successes and challenges. This was something that the PAR facilitators, as we were writing up our own reflections on our own sample reflections, we were focusing a lot on the challenges and not enough on the successes, and we need to be thorough. So we want to convey that to all of our probies, that you also need to celebrate your successes as well as reporting on your challenges and how you're addressing them. There we go. Now that synopsis section, each section of the, so now we have those 3, core functional area, which is instruction, faculty, professional service, and professional development. That synopsis is going to look slightly different for each of those things, because there are 3 different things, right? So with that core functional area, that section for the synopsis, you're going to basically report all of the feedback that you received. And I'm going to have some strategies that I'm going to share with you for that, so that you can start thinking about that as we go into this new year. With faculty professional service, this is kind of your, what were your contributions? And for professional development, what are your key takeaways? Okay, and this is just the what happened part of it. Then as we get into the what have you learned, this is that during this section is where you're kind of processing all of that information, all of that synopsis. This is you, as I tell my students, show your thinking. How are you thinking about these experiences? How are these experiences shaping you? How are they changing you? How are they changing what you do? Again, when it comes to that core functional area, those instructional evaluations, how are you processing this feedback? How is this feedback making you think about what you do and what you might want to change or continue? Again, here's that verbiage from the RFA. It is kind of assumed that you are going to be doing more as you move up the chain. And as you report your learning and your growth, be very specific about how these experiences are connecting to your role at the college and at the district. And you're going to hear this written as a member of the professoriate. We use that a lot, that language a lot in the South PNC, member of the professoriate. We use that a lot in the rubric. So being very clear about how these experiences are relating to what you do in your role as faculty. That application and plan section, that how are you going to use what you've learned, the more specific that you can be, the better. It's more than just, hey, I went to this, I had this workshop on AI and I'm going to start doing lessons about ChatGPT in my classes. That is not sufficient. You need to give some examples and be very specific. Again, not terribly different from what we've done in the past, because I've always asked, please be specific. So this time it's even more. Please be very specific on how you are using what you've learned. Having that actionable plan. This is when I plan to implement things. You don't have to come to a specific date, but at least, by the fall, I expect to be doing this in my class. Okay. Yes, question.
Sometimes you go to a really good PD, but you're not, like, there's nothing to do with it yet. It's percolating because there's like, you're in the middle of the semester, in the middle of like another development. So, will you give us suggestions when we get there about how to say, like, I'm not doing anything with this yet except for letting it simmer?
Yeah. And that's part of your processing too. And I think that's kind of understood, but when we get to the other changes, so I'm going to kind of depart from the script a little bit, because like I said, part of the work that the PAR facilitators did this summer was actually writing up reflections based on this new format. And I'm not going to lie, I struggled really hard. I volunteered to do a year one, to pretend to be a year one faculty. I really struggled. I lost my mind trying to write this up and trying to wrap my mind around that core functional area. That was the hardest one because it was consolidating. If you think about it, first years get evaluated twice. They get fallen in the spring. So, and then plus with, VPAA chair, and then like trying to figure out how to organize that in a way that made sense. Cause I think I got to like page 6 and I was still writing up like what feedback I was getting. Cause I was trying to organize it by like, here's my dean evaluation, chair evaluation, yada, yada. It was a pain. It was a pain in the butt. I cried a lot. And my face broke out. But, in consultation, we talked a lot of this through our facilitators, and we gave each other some help and assistance as we wrote up our sample reflections. And this is what I'm going to recommend based on what I learned through this. For that synopsis section, because this is really the hardest part in that core functional area, this would be a good opportunity for you to, or now at this point in the semester, we're just beginning, identify specific goals that you have, the specific instructional goals that you have. And then make sure that you communicate to the people who are evaluating or observe you what those goals are so that they can be very specific in their feedback to that. Okay. That will help organize things rather than just trying to organize it chronologically. You can organize it by goals, the feedback that you receive from those goals. So that's one option. Or get your feedback and then almost kind of doing like a data analysis, maybe organizing your feedback around different themes that emerged and organizing it based on those themes that you found after you got your feedback from your dean, your chair, your peer mentors, and your students, and organizing it that way. Bullets actually are okay to do this. There's nothing wrong with that because, again, this is just strictly the reporting. Here's the feedback I received. This isn't the processing part of it yet. This is just here's the feedback I got. And you have to remember to address both strengths and challenges. So don't just, I think a lot of us have a tendency to focus on these are the things I suck at and that I want to get better at. And we need to remind ourselves that, we had some triumphs too. And I need to report on those triumphs as well. And I did really well on these things and I should be proud of that and document that. So keep that in mind as you comb through all of your feedback. So that's kind of my recommendation for how to deal with that core functional area, because it really was the hardest thing. For that description of growth section for core functional area, process all of that feedback collectively rather than individually. Again, if we're looking for one sort of cohesive reflection. Show your thinking. Again, by organizing things either into themes or into goals, that will help you to organize your thoughts as well as you process that information. And then for the application and plan section, again, be specific with how you are incorporating all of this feedback, how you plan to change things or not change things based on the feedback that you received. And the more specific that you can be, the happier your reviewers will be. Yes.
Was there any discussion about, like, I just, I'm not writing one of these, but just if it's a summary of your entire experience in terms of the reflections especially, wouldn't really be able to start your reflection until right near the end, because something later may completely change or reskew your viewpoint. So I'm like, that's crappy.
Yeah, and that was something that we discussed in the previous sessions too. It came up in the previous sections because now it's almost like you need that time to, if you have to write like something that is cohesive and that encompasses everything that you've done all year, it's sort of forcing you to wait until the last minute, which is like, that's not what I want for you. I want for you to wait till the last minute because there's a deadline, which we'll talk about. There are some things that can be kind of drafted and written up so that at some point later, as we get closer to that due date, you can kind of pull from, so that you're not always starting from scratch. So, maybe some of the strategies that people have used in the past, like keeping a Google Docs and just making notes whenever you can so that you can process things as they happen. And then you have it so that way you can go back to it and start putting it together. But yeah, that was a concern that I've come up with. So you're not moving. And that was something I was also worried about as well as the PAR facilitators discussed it. And I wasn't alone. A lot of people are kind of on the same page. All right, moving on. We have a new deadline for your IDPs. So mentors, you need to be aware of this because you need to be on your mentee to make sure that they meet the new deadline. Basically, in the past, to this point, IDPs, the final IDPs were always due the Friday after spring break. This year, you're losing 2 days. The RFA now has stated that IDPs are due the Wednesday after spring break. So that would, for us, that means March 19th, 2025. So probies, mentors, please make a note of that. Make sure that you again, it's as difficult as it will be because a lot of stuff will need to be done kind of at the tail end of putting that IDP together, but make sure you plan accordingly so that you have that time. So spring break may suck for a lot of folks because you're going to be busy writing up your reflections and getting them all finalized. But such is life. I don't know why Wednesday. Somebody asked why did they change the date? None of us know. I don't know why. I don't think it makes any sense because it's very arbitrary.
Yeah, not Friday, was it
Wednesday, and it's almost like, let's do it on Tuesday at 2 p.m. I don't know. Okay, question in the chat. Yes, I am going to be putting these slides in the PAR Mentor. Actually, what I'll probably do is just send these slides to all faculty so that everybody has access to them because I think everybody will be supporting our probies. I want everybody to be supporting our probies. Okay. So I'm going to make this general information for all. Yes, so you'll get them. You will get them. All right, moving on. In the past, there was stuff in the RFA that said a draft of the IDP was due to your PAR team, which is me and your mentor, by the Friday of spring council. And that was always kind of a challenge because realistically, nobody's really doing much with their IDP during the fall. And so I would get bombarded with emails during accountability week in spring, like, oh, I haven't done anything. Please don't look at mine. Can I have an extra day? And I would always tell people, hey, it's a work in progress. I know you're still working on it, but we have to kind of officially do this, you got to turn something in. And then I would review them, and it was always kind of a challenge because then I'd see blank pages because these were things that were still in progress. And I can't give feedback on a blank page. I can only assume that this is a work in progress. And then I don't see it again until you turned it in at the end. And then this year I had some challenges because we had a loss, and, my mind was preoccupied with that, and I could not get myself together to actually, go through and provide substantive written comments. But what I did do was I was able to meet with individuals who wanted to meet and go through it and talk through it, even though it was a blank page. We could kind of talk through, what are you planning on doing in this page? Tell me what you're planning to do, and then I could give feedback, and that was actually a lot more productive for folks. So this year, even though it is going to be a little bit more of a scheduling nightmare for me, but we're going to make it work. Instead of submitting a draft, what you will now be doing, probies, is you will, first of all, you need to make sure that you've added me and your mentor to your IDP as editors now. I probably am already there for most of you, but just check to make sure. And then during the first 4 weeks, so accountability in the first 3 weeks of the spring semester, you're going to make an appointment to have a one-on-one with me, either in person or virtually. And we're going to do a guided tour of your IDP together so that we can talk through some of those blank pages, because I know life happens and you're not going to realistically work on your IDP while you're enjoying your Christmas cocoa. You're not going to do that. You're going to spend time with your families and enjoy the holidays. So we're going to talk through it together, especially in light of all of these changes. I really do want to make sure that I touch base with everybody and make sure that we're all kind of on the same page. So I believe this will be much more helpful to all of you. Okay. Mentors, I would encourage you to do the same thing with your mentees as well. And hey, if maybe there's an opportunity the three of us can meet. So that's always an option as well. Just thought of that. Like, yeah, that would be kind of cool. So the mentor and me and your probie, we all get together and we look at the IDP together. So that is also an option. So be on the lookout for that. Once spring semester, once we get accountability, I'll have a process for making appointments, and we'll get you during the first 4 weeks. So that way you are well ahead of schedule to get your IDP in on that Wednesday, March 19th. All right, questions here? Oh, okay, cool. All right, so some things to look for. Looking ahead. So I just want you to put these on your radar. First of all, there will be district level virtual sessions on all this information that I've covered in more specificity during weeks 2 and 3 of the semester. These are currently, like literally as we speak, we're working with MCLI to get these set up. I will have dates once I know all of the dates finalized. I'll send that information out too. Please sign up for these sessions. These sessions are for probies, for mentors, and for PART members. Okay, and this will be hosted by your PART facilitator. So all 10 of us were kind of tag teaming, and we'll each be, it will be either in groups of 2 or 3, and we'll be hosting these informational sessions for everybody in the district. So you'll be in a session with people from other campuses. So that way we're getting all the same information out to everybody. We are also hard at work making templates and sample reflections to help everybody with this change. Okay, so be on the lookout for those. I will be disseminating those, or district, one of the two, or I'll just what the district has. I will be opening, I'm doing some open labs a little bit later in the semester for those people who need some technological assistance with Google Sites to help reorganize your year. So you're still going to use your original Google site. We just need to organize this year to make sure that it's with this new format. So I will help you with that if you need help. If you're already pretty competent with Google Sites, go for it. But I will make myself available to help you with that. I will be doing some workshops on reflection like I have in the past, especially given these new kind of terminology and some strategies for how to put those together. And the IDP rubric, our new one rubric to rule them all, will be released around mid-October, consistent with how we've always done it. You'll get that. And then once I send out that rubric, I post it everywhere, I send it out. I'll do some workshops on that. There will probably also be some district level workshops to go through the rubric line by line like I have. All right, so be on the lookout for those. Please sign up for those. These virtual informational sessions, I'm just gonna throw this out there, just a heads up. We will be taking attendance at these sessions to keep a record of who's attending, and if problems, I don't want to say it, but if problems do arise with IDPs, we'll go back and check that they go to the session. And it'll be noted, so not that we get certainly like in trouble or anything, they're not gonna like Dr. Pay, but we are keeping track because we want to make sure that everybody gets this information. You need to let me know who your mentor is or if you are mentoring somebody. I think I have a lot of mentors here. So if you are mentoring somebody, please let me know who that is. If you are a probie, please let me know who your mentor is just to update it because I need to make sure that your mentor has this information as well and make sure that they have those access to those PAR sessions, the district PAR sessions. As soon as those things come out, please sign up, get it sooner rather than later. I will be sending out the notifications for the timeline acknowledgement and the mentor acknowledgement on Canvas, probably around the second week of the semester until once the dust settles and everybody's kind of figured out who their mentor is going to be this year. Please stay tuned to the CTL calendar because I'll be offering those workshops that I told you about. And in the meantime, questions, comments, if you want to cry, I'll hold your hand. You can always call on me. And I will help you however I can, in whatever way that I can. But, don't wait to start working on your IDPs. Start writing stuff. Like I said, if you can at least like keep a Google Doc or whatever method works best for you, if you need to handwrite in a notebook, keep track of what you're doing, make notes on what you're learning from that and how you intend to use that, even though it's going to be a while before you actually put that all together. The more that you have done up front, the easier it's going to be to remember when it does come time to writing that up. Okay. That's my biggest recommendation. So don't leave it to the last minute, especially since we've lost 2 days on that deadline. Yeah. Questions? How are we doing? Are you freaking out? Is everybody calm?
Freaked out for me. I need not freaked out.
Yeah, I like hearing that. Anybody online? Questions, comments? You're a very quiet online group.
Thanks for your good work, Space.
Thank you.
You're very sorry.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Mine. Good. I'm glad you took notes. Yes, I will be sending these slides out. I'm going to send them out to all faculty. Everybody should know this. Okay. If there are no other questions, y'all got like an extra 8 minutes of your life. Thank you.
Yay.
So thank you very much. Have a wonderful start to your fall semester and we'll be in touch. Yeah, that's okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a great day. Over to it.
You're almost still staring at this.
No, I'm over in Octio, but I'm gonna, I really like the